let's turn off phones.
Yeah, I have to know. All right, ready?
Yeah. Hold on, 3, 2. Cool.
What's happening, guys? Thank you for tuning into this video. I am joined by someone very, very special today on this episode of Real Talk. Look, I haven't done one of these in a while, and the reason why I haven't is because, look, I've been struggling to find the right people to put on to the YouTube channel to make sure that they can give enough value to you guys who are subscribed or that have just dropped on and found this video. Now, look, this is Max Lonsdale. He is a phenomenal marketer, Facebook advertising genius, funnel hacking legend, blah de blah de blah de blah.
No,
Why don't you introduce yourself? You can introduce yourself much better than I can.
Yeah, all of that, I guess, all of the above. I don't know if I'd use all of those adjectives, but yeah, Facebook advertising, kind of sole focus, marketing, sales, agency owner. That's kind of where I focus and specialise in.
100%. So look, in this episode, we're going to try and keep it as short and sharp, to the point as possible, to give as much value as possible. Now, Max has been somebody who, look, the first conversation I had with him was back there, you know, on one of those desks, where we were discussing, after he saw one of my adverts, starting his agency, after he left a very, very fast-growing agency called Social Chain up in Manchester. From that moment, it seems like, you know, that seems such a long time ago, but in actual fact, it's probably like 8 to 10 months ago, right? Things have come along dramatically. He is super, super talented at growing his business. International clients, revenue figures growing month on month on month. Happy clients is the main thing. Renewing clients, that is a big, big part of this business. Having clients who renew, having clients who step up and want to stick around, that is one of the key ingredients. But look, from there, he joined onto the 6-month mentorship program, and look, I'd love for you to share some insights as well on your experience with that. But look, that's not the whole thing's about. Talk to me about your journey. You know, in the last 12 months, you've gone from working for an agency or multiple agencies to where you're at right now. How has that journey been?
Yeah, pretty big. I mean, you kind of mapped everything out very well there. I mean, just to give some context, so I basically just left university, dropped out, and then started working for lots of different agencies in marketing and sales and social media as a whole. I just kept getting fired from lots of jobs. I think I went through about 4 jobs in a year and basically got fired from pretty much all of them. And the one that I quit, it was basically like when I told them I was quitting, they were kind of like, yeah, good. So I kind of went through this weird period where I was like, I don't seem to be very good at this whole job thing, and I kind of need to be because it's quite important to life. So I quickly decided, and I always toyed around with the idea in my head that I wanted to do my own thing, and kind of circumstances laid themselves out, and I thought, well, I may as well just go and do it now, because most of the time of me not doing well in jobs was usually because I had too many ideas, or I was thinking too big and they wanted to contain me, and I just didn't like that. And that's when I came across yourself through an ad. We spoke, and I very quickly just decided, well, this is a route I want to go down. My life isn't where I want it to be at the moment, and I know where I want to get to, so I need to start spending time with people that are where I want to be, because if I can just start doing that, stuff's just going to start rubbing off on me, and I'm only going to get closer to that goal if I start actually putting the steps in. So obviously where we are now, where I do my own thing, and it's been a year now. I've been self-employed, running my own business for a year now. I make more money, much more money than I did when I was employed. You know, my time is my own. I work from home. I can do what I want when I want. And you know, the more work that I put in, the more reward I get out, which is a big thing for me personally. Everyone's different, but for me, being able to know that if I actually work harder, I reap the rewards of that. When working for a job, you know, I can put in 110% but still get paid the same thing at the end of the month. So I very quickly was like, well, I may as well just put in 20% because I don't have to think so hard and I still get paid the same, right? Which is not good for me and my own self-development. So when everything's on me and the ball's in my court, and if I don't step up to the plate, then I don't get to eat. It forces me to become better. So yeah, that's kind of been the journey to where we are now. That's been the kind of transition. That's obviously, it seems so quick, like a year, but obviously that whole year for me was every day, every second in my head, in my mind. Like, it's been slow progress, but obviously when you get to look at it over a year period, it seems rather fast and rather quick to get to the point where we are now.
100%. 100%. So look, one of the things I wanted you to share with people, as much as, look, we always promote the headlines, don't we, as marketers? This is what we're doing, revenue, this is what we're doing, lead cost, this is what we're doing, ad spend wise. But what gets overlooked often or as a second thought, is the daily fucking grind.
Yeah.
Right? That
Yeah,
slow,
sure.
burning, grafting, which, you know, from day one I always said, look, earn every single penny you make in your agency. Don't think that there's some secret formula to just making passive income in this business, because you can make passive income. However, you can make a hell of a lot more income if you break your back and you push forwards and you do it every single day. So talk to the people out there and talk to me about, look, give me your top 3 challenges, and let's break down one of those challenges in this last 12 months.
Sure.
Talk to me about that.
Okay, so I mean, the first one that really comes to mind, I'd say, is just discipline, self-discipline. Again, kind of the person who I am, and I think a lot of other people struggle with this, is I always struggle to not necessarily motivate myself, but keep myself focused on one task, because I have a lot of ideas and there's a lot of stuff I want to do. I end up doing 10 things at once, and then you basically put 10% into those 10 different things. And you'd be much better saying, no, this 1 month I'm just going to do this one thing, and over 10 months do those 10 things. But spend a whole month on just each of those one things, because you're going to get a lot more out of that one thing. So just for example, you know, when I started to see real success in my business as agency was when I actually just started focusing my time and energy on the actual revenue producing activities. So when I actually disciplined myself in a day to be like, right, 9 to 12 is all prospecting stuff, 12 to 5 is all the meeting sales calls that I've got booked in, and then, you know, after that send out all the proposals, and then do some of the ad stuff that needs to be done, or outsource that.
Yeah.
When, like, for weeks and months at a time I just focused on doing that, I made more money. It's that simple.
Yeah.
So when you actually focus on what you need to do to actually produce more money, you'll make more money. So that's definitely a big one that I struggled with, and I still struggle with today, keeping disciplined. Yeah. That's a big thing to note. Like, it's the one thing to do that for a couple of months, but you do that for a couple of months, you're tired.
Yeah.
You get tired.
So did the accountability, obviously, with myself.
Oh, massively. Yeah. So that's another thing for myself. You know, I'm very like, I think a lot of people can be. We kind of can be very easy on ourselves, and you have to learn to be very strict on yourself. And the way I look at it, and I think a mutual friend of ours, I think, once said at one of our events, was that you have to treat working for yourself like you've got a boss looking over your shoulder
100%.
who doesn't expect anything apart from right top. And if you don't do that, you haven't got a job anymore.
Yeah.
You shouldn't treat it like put your feet up and relax. It should be treated like the same thing.
Yeah.
And that kind of idea, I think, is important. So either you are able to do that yourself, which I couldn't at the start, I can better now, or you need to find somebody else. But I think what's important is that other person that you find needs to be somebody that doesn't have a vested interest in you. It can't be mum, it can't be dad, it can't be your brother or sister, it can't be your best friend.
Yeah.
It can't be. It needs to be somebody completely external to that entire environment, who can tell you how it is, and not be, oh, it's okay because of this or this. No, it's not okay. You're not pulling your weight, and it's because of this, this and this. This is where you should be focusing your energy.
100%. And that's one of the things that I feel like we're very similar in personality type, where, you know, we go after things, and we have a ton of ideas, and creative output is really important to us. We obviously have that competitive drive from the gaming background and such, but like you just said, when you channel that energy in, and like I always said to you, you make whatever you want to make. Literally, you make whatever you want to make, whether it's you know, a 5-figure month, a 4-figure month, is literally up to you, because you have that level of talent. And that discipline is absolutely something that is, you know, when I've looked at your progress, that is something that you've worked on, and it has improved massively. And you can see it from your output, you know what I mean? You can see it from your output. Give them something else. All right, so discipline. Everyone struggles with discipline. I'm sure you guys, look, drop in the comments below. What do you guys struggle with in your business? Or if you're thinking about starting a business, what do you anticipate struggling with? What about the pressures of obviously going it alone, and family and everybody? What was their response to you leaving the working world and starting up your own thing? I'm assuming none of your family members have done that at 22 years old, right?
No. So yeah, I'd say that is probably the next one, would be the kind of doing stuff yourself pressure of that. In regards to family and stuff, I didn't tell anybody. I just went off and did my own thing.
Which is a strategy within itself.
Yeah, in a sense. But what I would say about that point specifically is you should know your family better than anybody else, and you should know what works with those people. Like, everyone has. Don't just do what I did. I knew that the right thing to do for me, because I know my family. And what I mean by that is, all they cared about more than anything is that I'm making money and that I can afford to live somewhere, right? Like all parents do. Like, are you actually eating, right? So say when they're going to call my family or you know, whatever, are you eating okay? Yeah, right now it's fine. So that's all they cared about. So what I did is I went away at the point at which I started generating a revenue, and I had some clients, and I was making this, actually I think it was just about the same, if not more money than I was making at my job. And I was like, oh, okay, this is a thing, like I can actually do this. I then went to my parents and was like, hey, by the way, so you know, I've left this is what I'm doing now, this is how much money I'm making. And they just went, okay, cool, great. And I remember my dad actually said to me, he said, it's a good thing that you came to me with like all of this laid out, because if you come to me and saying, oh, I want to do this, I would have said no, because I didn't see the proof of concept, so you did the right thing. And I was like, I know, because I know my family.
Dude.
Yeah, so that's how I approached
Common
it.
thing, isn't
Yeah,
it?
that's how I approached it. But, you know, my family is interesting in the sense of my dad's an entrepreneur, runs multiple businesses, pretty damn successful. So I had that to like look up to and kind of be like, oh, okay, he works like 16-hour days and has done since, you know, all the 22 years I've known, and gets up at 3:30, 5 o'clock, works till like 9 and then goes to bed.
Wow.
But he kind of gets the rewards from that, and I've seen that, and that's all been ups and downs. It's not just easy stuff. So I kind of had that to look up to, and you know, it has been helpful in my business in the sense of being able to ask certain questions about, you know, legal stuff, financial stuff, all that complicated stuff that you don't really learn from anywhere. To be able to have someone to be able to lean on that. But also what it's done, I'd say, in that sense, is actually made me a lot closer with my family, especially in that regard, because let's say me and my dad, for example, have a lot more to talk about with that specifically, right? We have a lot more stuff that we can talk about, and it kind of brought us closer on that, and he kind of sees a lot of me in him, of stuff I've done. But no, my dad didn't do that until he was like late 30s, so I kind of had a bit more of an impulse. But again, the reason I went down this route was circumstances more than anything. I think I always knew I would, but circumstances ended up happening that meant that I could go down this route easier, and I just decided, hey, it's now or never.
Cool.
Let's go for it.
Talk to me about the transition. So Max actually delivers for us on workshops, on different events. He comes and he's actually a speaker on these events. How's that transition been for you? Because like, look, this week you actually, you know, delivered a workshop to a corporate finance client of my, you know, social agendas. What's it like, you know, sitting there on the other side of the fence, delivering this content and knowing that it's giving massive value at such, you know, such an early period in your journey? Because there's consultants out there, there's marketers out there that I know, they've been doing this for years and they've never delivered a consulting package because of the anxiety about standing up there and putting your knowledge to the test.
Sure, yeah.
Right.
So I've always been fortunate in that regard of I'm not really a nervous person, that much anxiety. I still get nerves like everybody else does, but I've always been a very confident person, confident in speaking. I used to do a lot of like acting and stuff when I was younger, so I've always been very confident in that regard, and I'm always happy to be the first one to kind of speak. And let other people feel a bit comfortable. But I still get nervous, and especially doing that first one. The first one I ever did, consulting day, was not like the best thing, but I always knew it wouldn't be the best one.
Was it helpful? Obviously we did that one together.
Yeah, we did, and it was massively helpful. And I think I remember you saying like, that was a difficult day. That was a difficult group of people. That was a really difficult day. Yeah. But you know what? If the first one's the hardest, everyone else will get easier. But it's like anything. The first one of anything that you do is always going to be the hardest one to do.
Of course.
But it's getting over that first hurdle. So once you've done that once, it's good. And I think another cool point on that, though, is that a lot of people that join this space, SMA stuff, they're very linear, and they think that it's just somebody's going to pay me and I'm going to run ads for them. But not everybody wants that, because not everybody thinks that way. Sure, I have some clients that just pay me and I run ads for them. I call them once a month, but that's how they like to work. The leads are coming in, they're making sales, we're all happy. But I have other clients that are more interested about all the technical side. Now, how does this work exactly? How does this process, which is what I'm like in my business, like when I'm talking to my bookkeeper or accountant or whatever, like I'm like, how does this work? I'm that kind of person, so I get that. And then there's other people who don't have as much money to invest into actually, and these are normally smaller businesses, into paying me plus all the advertising spend, but they've got a good enough money to invest into their own education, and they can invest into their own education, learn how to do it themselves, and go and apply it and be successful for 6 months, a year, get themselves to a point where they can then come back to me and say, hey, look, we're at this point, can we outsource it to you now? So once you kind of open my eyes to that changed a massive part of my business. A lot of my revenue now is consultant days, and it kind of goes from consultanting to then people that do the done for you ads. Like 100%. There's a natural progression.
Yeah, and I think that's what people are missing, and that's one of the things, you know, having those offers for clients at different parts of their journey is something that massively changed my business as well. And you know, I never made any of this stuff up. I did, you know, creatively put different parts together, but all of the information was learned from somewhere, right? Either from experience or from a mentor of my own. But the main thing for me is, look, you know, when I'm looking at potential mentees, obviously the commitment involved. Talk to me about not just the commitment to the program, but the commitment to yourself and your own business, because you didn't go straight from the 1 month mentorship into the more advanced, longer term mentorship. You had about 4 or 5 months where you were still you having success. Right?
Yeah.
So why did you choose to, instead of just carrying on doing your own thing, why did you choose to reinvest in yourself and obviously into social agendas, and to go on to the more advanced time?
Sure. So I think there's probably like a couple of things to say on that. Number one is, there was a point where before that I'd done, like when I was working for companies for that whole year and kept getting fired, what people need to understand is that during that time I figured out, I learned what these Facebook ad things was very early on, and this was when Facebook ads were like not as well known as it is now. It's kind of the thing. So this was a bit before, where it was a bit easier to get results and cheaper on certain things. And at that time when I figured this thing out, I was like, oh, this thing's really cool. I want to know how to do this, and I want how to do it very well. And I'm quite a numbers analytics guy, so when I saw that in this social world that I was getting into, there's a numbers and analytical side, I was like, oh, great, let me get into this. Because I can do the creative stuff, but it's not my bread and butter. I like data, I like numbers, I like the kind of what people would, I guess, call the boring side, but I find that stuff really cool. So when I realised that, when I used to go home from work, I had no money left at all, and I used to spend a lot of my own money on Facebook ads. And I did that for a year, and I spent a few thousand of my own cash figuring out how to run Facebook ads. So when a lot of people start in this stuff now and they've never spent anything on themselves, it's like, you've got to be able to be willing to spend money on yourself to figure a lot of that stuff out. In regards to then investing into myself again and moving into that, I think what I learned was that when I started doing ads for clients, I realised that, you know what, I know enough, and I need to start doing, because I spent a large portion of my time just learning, and never actually doing. But then what I learned to do is, hey, learn one thing and actually act on it before learning the next thing, and that way it helps imprint into your head what you're actually doing. So I was doing that for a long time and actually executing and getting the results, and then I realised that, hey, now I want to take this stuff to a next level. I want to invest again to be able to further improve this knowledge. And I knew that I wasn't just paying, for me, I knew I wasn't just paying to learn the information and knowledge, that's one part of it, but it was also access to like a network to yourself, and also in some way to kind of show, look, I'm really serious about this thing. Like, I'm serious about this, and I'm paying into this for long-term relationships, like long-term business networking. And where I've cashed in the most or seen the biggest return on my investment, for me personally, is more on the network that I've made through someone like yourself and some of the work that we've done together and so on. It's the other people that I've met that has generated business for me, for you, projects that we've been able to work on and stuff like that. That's where I see the big return. And a lot of that I know is going to cash in 5, 10, 15, 20 years. And I'm very aware of how young I actually am and how long I'm going to live. And I'm thinking 10 years ahead rather than a few quick round here and there. So it's really a no-brainer. You know what I mean? If you're confident in yourself and your abilities, and if you know that where you are currently is not where you want to be, then stop moaning about it and start doing something about it.
Yeah, and look, you're right. And the thing I'd say, the reason why there was no real sales process to putting you onto the 6-month mentorship was because it is a big commitment and there is a big affordability thing. So you going and building your business to that certain point, it was all the ball was totally in your court, because for me it was more about, look, whoever we work with on these longer term, you can definitely see that you're a lot closer to myself and all of the network around me, and that network alone has generated far beyond in revenue alone.
A lot.
The investment that has taken you to obviously come onto the mentorship, and it's my pleasure though, to actually share that, because that's taken me 4 or 5 years to build, right? To give access, the only reason you get access is because you've earned it, you deserve it, but more so because the client can benefit from it. You know what I mean? If I've trained you, and the main thing for me is when I thought about, how do I justify teaching guys what to do without actually giving the opportunity to them to do it, because I'm the kind of person who learns by doing more than by knowing, right? And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there who are probably similar. If you're like me and you learn more by doing than knowing, drop a comment below and say something about it. But for me, the clients are benefiting more than ever, because you've got something to prove, not only to your own business and yourself and to what you can achieve, but you want to give the best possible service, because you know how far that's going to go into the marketplace,
For sure.
right? And your impact. You know, it's just we're all these little drops in the ocean, but for me, it's being able to give you that and present that to you and see you grow from, you know, the first time we did it and seeing how you took the bull by the horns, and I respect that, and you jump head first into, you know, out of your comfort zone, I should say, and I fully respect that because that is what it takes. But the main thing I was impressed with was how coachable you were with it, because you know a hell of a lot of great information, right? But how to communicate that is a whole nother ball game in itself. And the biggest progression for yourself that I can see through the last 6 months is probably your communication skills, knowing when to talk, knowing how to talk, knowing when to stop talking.
Yeah,
You know
massively.
what
I mean, that's true. I mean, anyone that's watching this that knows...
Would you agree?
Yeah, massively. I mean, anyone that's watching this that knows who I am knows that I can talk.
Yeah.
And it's one thing to be able to can talk, but I can talk a lot and ramble, and one thing that could maybe be said in one simple sentence, for me, it used to take maybe 10 sentences.
Yes.
And the kind of process
overcompensating.
Just overcomplicating sentences.
Yeah.
Because for me, at that point, it felt like I hadn't said enough, but actually it's not about that. It's about putting it into a more of a coherent sentence.
Simple form.
Yes, simplifying stuff down, and that's what we do on an ads point of view.
Yeah.
You know, when we do ads, we keep them super simple, because if they're not simple and somebody can't understand them, they're just never going to work.
So look, what would you say to somebody who's thinking about, maybe they're on the fence about the 1 month mentorship, or forget our programs, they're thinking about, listen, I need somebody to teach me, I'm thinking about joining a course or a mentorship program, and they're on the fence. What like kind of advice would you offer them?
I'd say the biggest thing is just whichever way you choose, get off the fence as quickly as you can. Being on the fence doesn't help anyone, it doesn't help you. Either decide you want to go down this route, and if you do, fully commit to it, or decide that you don't and go find something else. But you sitting around thinking about, do I want to do this? All you're doing is killing time. You're just burning through time. You're just blowing it away.
Right, and let's say they do.
So if you do want to commit, then commit. Like, just commit to it. Now you might think, oh, finances are an issue, or my money's not here and my money's not there. Look, the amount of money that I've spent in my own self-development is a lot of money over the last year. I didn't have all of that money when I invested, but I knew that I had the talent, and I knew myself, and I knew that I had the work ethic to be able to get the return back from that. So a big part of it is self-awareness, knowing yourself. Do you actually want to do this, or do you just think you want to do it? Do you think it just looks cool and it would be cool to do that, or do you want to do it? Because it's one thing to be able to have like the freedom or stuff that we say now that appears cool, and all the Instagram stuff that you see and all that, but like what you don't see is the 99.999% of the stuff behind it, which is the actual thing that allows you to have that little thing. And that's hard work.
So let's say somebody out there, they decide to join a mentorship program. Let's say they join a 1 month mentorship. They're literally just getting started on this journey, right? Of either becoming a marketing consultant, a business growth specialist, you name it, whatever it is. What are some of the roadblocks that they're inevitably going to face, and what advice would you give?
Well, some of the stuff I've already covered, like discipline, understanding that. I think another big thing to know and to do.
So these are quite internal things. Is there anything external that they're going to come up against?
In what sense? What do you?
I'm also getting that clients telling you to fuck off.
Oh, that
or
side.
Prospects.
Oh, 100%. Oh, that. Yeah. So I was going to say that in that.
Hopefully not your clients.
Prospects.
But like,
so that's a big thing. Just in the sense of what I would say is drop your ego at the door completely. So in the sense of understand that any conversation you have with someone, always understand that they may know something that you don't. Right? And anytime that you speak to someone that think that they could educate you, don't think that you know everything, because you really don't. So that from a mentoring point of view, drop your ego, but also when you're speaking to a business owner or any kind of prospect, drop your ego and realize that rejection is just the part on the way. I mean, look, if men buckled at every time that they got told no, none of them would be married, right? Like, you just never would be. So a lot of men are happy to do it that way and be told no by a girl, but then when it comes to business, they get told no by somebody else, a business owner. They go, oh, that hurts my feelings. Yeah, good. It's supposed to.
So when you talk about feelings, so you got to drop your ego.
Yeah, I think so, massively.
To handle the objections and the resistance to doing business that you're going to find. And also, what about feelings then?
Yeah, understand it's not personal. Someone's saying no to you. And actually it's funny, I think there's a lot of link between the business and the relationship thing. But like when someone says no to you, it's not because, it may be actually, look, there may be a part where it's because actually they don't like you, but a lot of the time it isn't. Most of the time it's because probably it's not the right time for their business, it's not the route they want to go down. And what you can learn better is by asking better questions, you'll figure out what the real objection is, and then you can deal with that. But them saying no, it could be anything. Anything could have just happened to them in that day. They could have just had a call the day, the call before that, hey, your nan's in hospital, you need to come, and then you've just called them trying to sell something. They say, hey man, no, I haven't got the time. No, it's not the right time.
So it's not personal.
Of course it's not. It could be anything.
And be humble enough to accept that everyone isn't ready to work with you, right?
Yeah, massively. Be understanding that and understand that it is a numbers game, and that the amount of times I've been told no is a million times more than I've been told yes. The difference is that through all of those no's, whatever it is, 1 in 10 say yes. I'm willing to keep going until you get to that yes, rather than that's too many no's for me.
For real, man. For real. All right. Talk to me about the next 6 months, next 12 months. Where
Sure.
are things going now?
Just growth, both personal, business.
Well, I know
growth,
where it's going, but
of that kind of side of stuff. Obviously,
what is your focus going to be?
For me, it's we're at a point now where we've started to outsource certain stuff. I've always struggled. I've always struggled with kind of letting go of certain things because I'm like, hey, I know how to do this stuff really well. And then when I bring someone in else and I've done it to teach them, I'm like, why am I teaching this person? It's requiring time and energy and effort to teach this person. I could just do it myself.
And they might leave.
Yeah, and they could just leave. So it's an odd process. It's an odd process. Yeah, and also what I find funny is that I'm a very big advocate for, hey, go out there and do it yourself. And then I'm asking for people to come work for my dream.
It's a fine balance.
So it's a weird thing that you kind of have to learn about and how you handle. It's an interesting one. So we've started to do that now. We're outsourcing work to certain things and bringing in other people, and me understanding that, hey, it might take a few months to train some of these people up to the level that I want, but in the long term, massively beneficial, so that I can focus my time and energy, A, on the things that I enjoy to do, and B, usually on the things that are going to generate us more revenue, rather than performing some of the mundane tasks that I don't actually need to do anymore. But I think it's important that when you start, you do those mundane tasks.
Yes.
Because now you understand each part of the business, and now I understand the level of quality and work that I expect from somebody else that comes in and does that specific job. So I think that's super important. And just personal growth in that regards. There's some other ideas I've got for business stuff, potentially getting involved with, that's super exciting, that is now become available because of having more cash in the bank and being able to do these kind of things, as well as some personal stuff that I want to do in regards to content and other personal growth stuff. I think the biggest thing is just understanding now that actually I just have the freedom to be able to kind of, if I suddenly wake up and decide that I now want to get into the private jet business, I have the confidence that I could just randomly go and start a business in that, or go and do that, because those skills, it doesn't matter what you're selling, whether it's marketing services like us, or you're selling camera equipment, or you're selling open bus tours, it's the same skills. Absolutely. It's the same skills. So if you learn those skills, you can then translate that to other businesses, because I for sure know that I will not be doing this forever, ever. It probably will do it for a long time. It might always be a business that I own, but my energy that's 100% on this now, it may go down to 60 to 20 to 10 because I've automated it. And actually at 35, I find this more interesting. I'm aware that I'm a human being and that that's going to happen. Yeah. So if I can set myself up so that when I suddenly wake up one day and decide that I want to go and go to Thailand for 6 months, I can just go and do that.
Well, it's about having that freedom of expression, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure.
And being able to explore ideas and passions without the worry that, oh my God, if this doesn't work, I'm going to fall flat on my face and have to go back to a job.
Yeah, I've done, yeah.
Actually, if I fall flat on my face, I'll just have to go and hit the phones and give people my services again and help their business grow so I can help my own business grow. So, for me, I'll give you some feedback right now. Your maturity, man, like, it's still crazy to me to think that you're just 22 years old. It's unreal, right? Like, there's not many people with their heads screwed on as well as you at your age that we've come across, and we speak, as you know, to many young people every single week. And for me, your maturity, your communication, everything's just gone to a new level right now. And as I look, and I say, look, that's what we're looking at this next 6 months, as we did yesterday on your final coaching day. I'm super excited to see what content you're going to put out, what lead magnets you're going to create, how you're going to contribute to this marketplace, right? Because for a fact, I know that you're going to be able to deliver some stuff that's going to change a lot of businesses, and in turn, a lot of lives of those business owners as well. So look, very excited for the future. What would you, let's just sign off on one last thing. What would you recommend about the 6-month mentorship? If somebody was watching that and they were thinking about applying for it, what would you say are the key things that you've benefited from on it?
I think pretty much everything that you've just listed. Maturity is a big one, I think, for most people. I think most people think that they're either mature or they're getting mature, but they probably don't really understand what it actually means or the essence of it. For me, more than anything, I think in a nutshell, I used to walk into a room and think that I had to prove who I was by talking a lot and by explaining a lot, and actually that actually reached the other goal that I was trying to achieve and made me come across too desperate, too much. Now I feel like I can walk into a room, say a quarter of what I said, and people think, that guy's hot, that guy's shit hot, that guy knows what he's talking about. That in itself has changed me massively, and not just from a business point of view, but also on a personal level. Like in my life, the way I look at things and the way that I handle myself when I'm not doing business, it all trickles down. So that's, I'd say, the core of it, is being able to hold myself a lot higher, and also now being able to achieve the goals that I once thought were ridiculously high and seeing them as actually not very high. I understand the work that's required to get those goals, and now I've already hit some of the goals that some people never hit in their entire life. And by doing that at 22, I now know that the next goal I can realistically get to. It's just this extra bit of work that needs to happen, and so on and so on. And I'm building something here, and if I can have an extra 10 years, as I said, if you start a business at 40 and I started at 21, I've got 19 years of building on you. And at 40, you're not going to suddenly be able to magically know more than the other person. It still requires that same level of work. So having that, and then having somebody who's been there, done it, I think that's the biggest thing. I think it's Dan Penner, I don't know if you know him, the billionaire guy who lives in Scotland. I like him. He's a very straight shooter. He's a very intense, straight shooter kind of guy. So if you respond well to that, you'll like him. If you're a bit PC, you won't at all. Right. He's a very straight shooter. And he says life isn't a journey, it's a model. Go find whoever the hell it is you want to be and do everything that they do. And I think that's why I chose a mentorship over a course or an online program, because I've done online programs and I think they're good for certain stuff. I do a Facebook lead gen course because it's good to be able to watch videos and be able to refer back to. But when you're trying to learn about life and you're trying to learn about how to handle a client and how to communicate better, you can't learn that in a course. You need to sit down with someone and have them listen to how you talk and go, you say this a lot, and you say this, you probably shouldn't. Learning how to do sales calls, having someone to actually listen while you're on a sales call, and immediately after go, don't say this, say this, say this, say this, this is crazy stuff, don't ever say this, we won't repeat this ever again. But to be able to have that immediately has, in my opinion, fast-tracked me by a decade.
Yeah.
Easily. Oh goodness, easily. Yeah, easily by a decade. So that's super important. So it's all of that in a nutshell. That's the way that I look at it. And that's everything I've got.
Look, I appreciate
it. And I appreciate it too.
I'm so happy for you. You deserve every fucking inch of success that comes your way. And look, it's mental. It's mental, man. This guy, fuck. I'm just going to be straight on the record. He was just a completely different person when he walked through these doors for that 1 month mentorship. We did it literally over there.
We did.
And he went away, and within 10 days it closed a $10.5 grand deal. And I was like, I knew this guy would do that, because for the amount, look, the number one thing that you've never had a problem with is your output and your energy, man. And if you can take one thing away from Max, is this guy can go. He can keep going. No matter how much the workload is, no matter how much the focus and the intensity is, he keeps pushing forwards, right? And if it takes somebody else to tell him to do that, he still finds that person and commits to that, which is what he's been able to do through the mentorship, man. So for me, if you're somebody who wants to learn more about marketing, look, you're in the right place for starters. But definitely follow Max. Look, he's an agency partner, and that's what the agency partner network was designed to do. It was to train individuals to the point where they're completely self-sufficient, so that they could, in theory, go away and do everything on their own. But the community and the family that we're building through the agency partner network is all about, why the fuck would you want to go anywhere far away?
Massively,
right?
Yeah.
You're here, you can deliver, I can send you opportunities, whether that's leads, whether that's jobs. As we have been from month 2 in the 6 month journey, You've been delivering, knocking it out of the park, getting testimonial after testimonial, representing yourself, representing us, representing the network in a massively positive light. So I appreciate it, man. Follow this guy. We'll put his links in the description below. Thank you for watching. Subscribe, like, comment, share it with anybody that you think needs to watch this. Take inspiration. 22 years old, doing huge things in the marketing game. If you don't know, get to know. Peace.